We're seeing day by day a growing number of Australians add their voice to these calls for a royal commission. But from my reading of it, from people you talk to, it doesn't seem like there's a willingness from the Prime Minister to budge. Do we have to accept that that is the reality here, that it won't change?
Well, we're not going to give up. We're going to go back to Parliament. We're going to prosecute the case. I mean, we do need to give answers to these families, but to the Australian community, our society has drifted. And for the government to say that they don't want to unmask the ugly side of anti-Semitism in this country, that's exactly what we need to do. Unless we're prepared to look ourselves in the mirror and have the courage to say that we've got it wrong, our society's drifted, and we need to do something about it, then we open ourselves up for this to happen again. And for the Prime Minister to belligerently just try and wait out Australians, I think ultimately they'll wait for him, all right. They'll wait for him, and they'll wait for him at the ballot boxes, because he was very quick to call the Royal Commission into robo-debt, and the government I was part of made egregious mistakes that we should be accountable for, and people tragically took their lives. But 15 Australians were slaughtered on the 14th of December. If that's not another reason to have a Royal Commission, then to make sure our agencies and that this work together and this never happens again, I don't know what this Prime Minister needs. But this is arrogant, it's belligerent, and it's ignorant to what the views and the anger and the fear that Australians are feeling when they're looking for leadership in this moment. In our nation's moment, the Prime Minister has missed his moment and he's let Australians down, and they won't forget it.
David, you referenced there the opposition trying to force the government to have one on the floor of Parliament. Labor have the numbers in the lower house. In the Senate, it seems to me you would need to get the support of the Greens in order to force action in the upper house. Is it doomed to fail? At the moment, we haven't heard anything from the Greens as to whether they'd support an inquiry.
Well, let's see the colour of their eyes. I mean, this is a moment for the Greens to actually show their true colours about what they actually are. And I fear they will go missing with Anthony Albanese. The Greens aren't this cute, cuddly, tree-hugging organisation they used to be. They have a sinister side. You've seen that, where they have perpetrated much of the hate on the streets and accelerated it with much of the mantras that they brought themselves, and even refused to stand in front of the Australian flag. These are Australians that we should now see the real colour of, and I don't think it's that cute, cuddly, tree-hugging variety of Greens that everyone thinks they are. But this will be a test for Larissa Waters, and we want to see the colour of her eyes now, because this is a moment where the Australian Parliament can send a very strong message, and it'll determine whether the Greens are with Australia or against us.
My colleague Cam Redden been reporting this morning that the government is considering bringing back Parliament this month, that there's talk that it could come back in the week of the 19th of January. Is the opposition in a position to come back and support those proposals that have been put forward? It does include that national gun buyback as well.
We would have been there before Christmas. We made it very clear when Chris Minns could bring Parliament back early to move legislation around hate and gun laws that we didn't support, but he at least had the courage to bring his Parliament back and show leadership and action. We were ready to get on a plane then, and I think this Prime Minister has run away from it, and he's run away from the scrutiny of the culpability of his government, of what has happened since the 7th of October 2023. So we stand ready. I can get on a plane, I can be in Brisbane in under 3 hours, and on a plane, the next plane to Canberra, can be there today. We've made that very clear, and opposition stands ready to come back and to be part of reforms and legislation that we need to protect our nation and to get our society back on track.
Have you been given any briefings from the government on those proposed pieces of legislation? I imagine they're not going to sit for very long. They're going to want to try and get this through fast. Has there been any sort of forewarning as to what might be coming?
No, not to me. I haven't reached out to the National Party in any way, shape or form, but we stand ready and constructive in any dialogue. But I think it's also important that it shouldn't be a take it or leave it attitude from this government. They've proven that much of the legislation they brought through in the last term wasn't robust enough, and they should be open to constructive criticism and engagement in strengthening laws that they bring forward if they bring forward any legislation. I think that's the environment that Anthony Albanese needs to create if he's going to bring back the Parliament. It shouldn't be a take it or leave it attitude. It should be, let's make this and get this right, and this is our opportunity to do it.
On another matter, to finish, David, you're criticising the government today for failing to provide a key transparency measure for families when it comes to groceries. Explain what you're thinking here.
Well, look, we've had plenty of reviews, many of which the government has been embarrassed into around the cost of living crisis and what the supermarkets are doing, not just to farmers, but to consumers. And we've had recommendation after recommendation to the ACCC. One of those tools was around dynamic pricing to ensure that consumers were better equipped with information, not just around pricing, but around shrinkflation. And that also feeds into giving the ACCC the tools to be able to police these supermarkets. And this government has promised a lot but delivered nothing. Those first reviews started back in 2023 and we're still waiting. And the penalties that they put in place aren't a deterrent for these supermarkets. If you want to change the culture, you need to be able to give the tools to the ACCC to be able to act and to give the speeding tickets that have real teeth, not up to $198,000 in infringement notice. They'll pull that out of a till in Sydney or Melbourne to pay a cost of doing business. It needs to be a $2 million infringement notice. And then ramping up to divestiture. That'll change the culture of supermarkets in protecting farmers, but also consumers, particularly when tonight there'll be Australians that can't afford to put dinner on the table. We've got a Prime Minister that's been beholden to the CEOs of Coles and Woolworths rather than the Australian people.
Nationals leader David Littleproud, always appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks for